All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cartercast. I'm your host, Karter. Baughan. With me, as always, Dylan, Ben, Connor. AFC South Preview today. Real quick, SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code CarterCast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions do apply. Go to SeatGeek.com or use code CarterCast for $20 off your next event. Download the SeatGeek app today. Dylan, real quick, SeatGeek. Real quick, SeatGeek.
This is implied now?
Nothing?
What?
No. All right.
I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
All right. Well, this is awful. I hate you, Dylan. I hate you.
AFC South. South, baby.
No.
AFC South.
No, we're going to take as much time. We're going to make this a real slow, easy podcast. We're going to take our sweet time here, Dylan.
Trying to seduce me?
Yeah.
What's going
we're
on
take
here?
our sweet time on this podcast,
ASMR,
Dylan. I'm kidding. Let's get into it. AFC South.
Mayonnaise.
Let's start off with the AFC. Ew, oh, gosh. We'll get into the Titans. AFC South preview today. Let's do it. Make sure to tune into all our other previews and college football stuff as well. Great stuff there. Great stuff. AFC South. Let's start off. Texans. They're the favorite in this division. Their win totals at 9.5. They're plus 105. I've seen minus odds at some books for them to win the division here in the AFC South. Let's start off with the number one C.J. Stroud hater in America right now, Mr. Dylan Wilkerson.
I thought you were going to throw it to Ben. I'm not a hater. I'm just a fan of the truth.
Clearly.
Houston Texans, they were the worst to first candidate last year. Obviously, I was wrong about a lot what I said about C.J. Stroud. Gaining a lot of weapons. I mean, they made it a point to go improve in the offseason. Stephon Diggs, he doesn't like being called Danielle. How do you say it?
Daniil
Hunter.
Danico Autry, Trader, and then Joe Mixon. We briefly touched about him on the AFC North. Their schedule, the Texans' schedule, in terms of you can have bad stretches like primetime games smashed between two away divisional games. They really don't have any conundrums like that this year. Their schedule is tough. They play Baltimore, Kansas City. Green Bay is not an easy out. Dallas isn't an easy out. Buffalo, Miami. At the end of the day, that is what keeps me from being on the Texans train, though, is the fact that they have to play those teams. Even though the scheduling isn't awful, the teams they play are pretty tough. I want to raise the question about Diggs because we know he's talented. Josh Allen kind of came out and said that essentially he won't be missed. And I'm being crass
You have
there,
to say
but
that. You have to say that if you're Josh Allen, though. You can't be like,
I
we
don't
missed
think
Stephon
you
Diggs.
have to.
It's kind of like prop your
know.
team up.
I think that relationship was just a cancer.
I think so too.
It was just, those people that are, it was a cancerous relationship. But
Yeah.
I think even if Diggs is an issue, though, I think we're in the honeymoon phase this year. So
Apparently, I was reading some reports. I don't know how true this is. He's been a mentor. He's going to be named captain in his first year. So I don't know, what are we putting stock into that by D'Amico Ryan or whatever? Yeah, Stephon Diggs. Believe it or not. Texans, I came into this. I was like, I can't wait to look for reasons to fade this team. I was like, I want to fade them. They're going to drop off this year. I couldn't really find that many. I came into it with that mindset too. Credit them for building a team and going all in while Stroud's on his rookie deal. I think that's huge. I think that's very important. Before you have to pay the guy, let's maximize what we can do because we're ahead of schedule. Mixon, he was pretty mad for the Bengals. Still had 1,000 yards. Weapons overall improved. They have arguably 7 receivers who would start on most teams in the NFL. They'd at least be in the rotation. There's 7 guys that I'm like, they're a rotational receiver. They'll make some catches. Texans O-line, most injured last year since they began tracking that stat. 10 different O-linemen played 280 snaps or more. They're going to be back. They're going to be healthier, you'd like to think. And Stroud, only 1 turnover and 65 deep passes last year. 1 turnover-worthy play. I just came into this. I was like, I want to fade them. They're going to drop off. I love the Texans this year, and I know it's popular. It's the sexy pick. I just think I'm not going to overthink it. If everything's there telling me they're going to be good, I'm going to say they're going to be good.
I think the Texans are going to be good too, Connor. I came into this thinking I need to find a way to fade this Texans team.
Yes.
Every tweet, every social account out there, every sports book is tweeting out, Texans are our most popular win total. Everyone loves the Texans. And you want to look at it and you go, let me ask this. This is a dumb question. It's dumb analysis. I've looked at everything and you're just like, they have to win 10 games. But does it over 9.5 wins for the Houston Texans feel too easy, Connor?
It does. It feels like something has to go wrong for them. In a season last year where everything went right and all the cards fell into place, I feel like there has to be some adversity this year, and that would lead me to think 10 wins is too many.
Yeah, it's tough to find a way in which they don't, which is scary. I don't want to divert the conversation too much, but Karter, Connor, what are your thoughts on CJ Henderson?
Oh man,
Because it's like, oh, they made all these additions to defense. If there's a place I don't like them, if you are telling me, hey, we made 2 big corner additions, they're CJ Henderson, they're Jeff Okudah, I say, oh no.
Yeah, that's
almost
Oh
like,
no.
It's almost like
Jeff
the guy
Okudah,
that was,
Jeff Okudah, that guy, like, hard worker, seems like a good guy. I know very well, he's not good at football. He's not good.
I feel great about the front 7, but you're right, Ben. The secondary, it's almost like, oh, it's the number 1 high school recruit, so he's got to be good eventually, right? It's like,
It looks like it says they signed CJ Henderson and they signed Jeff Okudah, and it's like, that sounds good, but then when you realize they kind of stink, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
I'm
big
with you.
names where you're like, oh wait, but they're not good.
Like Jamal Adams on the Titans, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to that. I do want to add real quick, if you want to take a look at maybe something that the Texans might struggle with, they were the 3rd worst last year in 4th down conversion rate, 5th most penalized offense. Stroud had the 7th longest time to throw. You could either credit that to good offensive line, or you could credit it to he's not a very quick decision maker. You can kind of leave that up.
You can spin your narrative however you want to.
However you want to take that narrative, you can. And then they also, Stroud led the NFL in average distance of throw, or average distance of target. So the ceiling's there. The question is the floor that high? And I think from what we saw last year, I think we could say it is that high. It is worth noting they lost games against good defenses last year. Ravens, Jets, Browns. I don't even want to talk about the Panthers' defense. Oh, my gosh. That's the one thing I could hold on to. But I do think there are some concerns. Second most missed tackles by this unit last year on defense. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of with you guys. 9.5 seems way too high.
Way too high.
Oh, we didn't say that.
We said it seems.
You're saying
too
too low?
We think
seems
too
I
high.
thought you meant too easy, like it's a trick, like a trap.
That's what
line
I am
or whatever.
saying.
No, but like, I'm falling for the trap.
Yeah. Oh no, I see 7 and 10.
I do. Does this remind you as a potential, like, I mean, it's a different style, but like, could they be kind of like the Lions last year in a way in which they're like winning a bunch of these games, but they're having to do it because, like, although they added some pieces on defense, the corners are bad, and then CJ Stroud and the receivers have to save them. Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of that going on, where we're going to see a lot of, like, NFL red zone. Scott Hansen puts on Texans are down 35-31 with 1:10 left.
That does
and
feel
CJ
right.
Stroud takes him down, wins the game. Like, that's what the Lions were doing.
Every Seahawks-Lions game ever.
Yes, every Seahawks-Lions game ever, which the Seahawks win every time. But, like, feels like old Lions Stafford in a way, where we're just going to be, like, going to Scott Hansen and C.J. Stroud's going to have to save the Texans' defense, specifically their secondary. I can see that happening.
I don't hate that as well. How much do we want to put it, like, how much do you put into that teams have a full year of scouting C.J. Stroud? It's not a surprise anymore. It's not, people aren't shocked by C.J. Stroud. The scouting report's there. They have a lot more film to go off of. Do we think we see somewhat of a sophomore slump by C.J. Stroud, or are the weapons such an upgrade in Houston that he just can't be worse?
I think it's important to consider, like, that can only hurt the Texans. The fact that teams have a full year to scout him, that it can really only go down. So, that's kind of how I think of that.
I think.
Go ahead, Connor.
Well, I was going to say, I think, yes, that has to be mentioned, that they do have film on Stroud for a whole year. But I think that's negated by the fact that the weapons are that much better. I think those kind of cancel out, where it's like there's going to be more guys making plays one-on-one in the open field, more guys, I just think that negates the fact they have the film.
And also, whenever you're watching a Texans game last year, didn't it feel like everybody was wide open? Like, C.J. Stroud just throws it down the field. You're like, there is not a receiver within 10 yards of Nico Collins.
Noah Brown's wide open for the first down. It's like, wait, what? Like, how'd that happen?
Even when like the receivers would go down, like you said, all of a sudden you're like, no, Brown's wide open. How does this keep happening?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Could this be the best offense in the NFL?
100%.
Yeah, I think it's certainly top 5. Like, I've got a few offenses that I know will be top 5, and the Texans is in there.
Well, if you believe that, I think their front 7 on defense is also top 10 maybe. Like, that defensive line, they paired Will Anderson with Daniil Hunter. They've got Autry coming back after suspension. He had 10 sacks in 2 of the last 4 years, I think. That's a stud D-line with a pretty good linebacking core behind them. It's all up to the secondary. It's all up to the secondary, like you said.
And I think that keeps them 1 year away from, like, true Super Bowl contention.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great
1
point.
year away. 1 year away because of the corners, and that's it.
Let's move on. Let's go to Jacksonville. Their win total is 8.5. I believe last time I checked, they were plus 210 for the division.
I see 270 on
270.
FanDuel.
270. Okay, I may have wrote that down wrong. But anyhow, Jaguars 8.5 win total. Trevor Lawrence gets the big contract. They lose Calvin Ridley, bring in Brian Thomas from LSU and Gabe Davis. Mm-hmm. Where are we at on the Jaguars train right now? Are we thinking? I lean meh.
I'm so meh. Maybe a little bit better than their projected win total, but like I was going through their acquisitions. I like Gabe Davis. I have no statistical backing. I just feel like for some reason, he's been good to the show. I don't know. Has he ever hit a touchdown play for us or something?
That sounds really
he's
familiar.
had to.
That sounds really familiar.
He's had to get in there, but I feel like we're always like sneaking in Gabe Davis first touchdowns.
Yeah.
It was like 817, throw $5 on Gabe Davis first touchdown plus 1,200. That's just that's just ritual.
I've got a few Jags thoughts.
Go ahead.
Are we sure that, like, they seemed, because they were good last year. I forgot their record. I think they were 8-3 and then finished 1-5.
Yes,
is that
correct.
Right?
That's
okay,
correct.
I knew it was something like that. And they, gave the Chiefs a run for their money in the divisional round last year. Are we sure that, like, we don't just have our memory tainted by the fact that Trevor Lawrence suffered, like, 30 injuries in the last 6 weeks? Because I feel like the consensus around Trevor Lawrence is like, oh, you're paying him that money? Ooh, like I'm a Trevor Lawrence believer, and I think they struggled primarily because of his injuries. I mean, he sprained an AC joint on Christmas Eve, the week before he was in concussion protocol, and he had a high ankle injury against the Bengals. I think that was a Monday Night Football game. It's like he was just beat up. So but also I don't love the defense. Like, I think this is a Jags team that's going to be a little better than what people think. But like, I went into this wanting to convince myself that the Jags were better than the Texans. Like, I wanted to do it. I couldn't though.
I couldn't either.
It's I haven't.
But they're better. But they're better than I think the public thinks.
Yeah, I think the gut reaction is Trevor Lawrence got paid. He threw 14 picks last year. That automatically means he regressed. He threw more picks last year. He was worse. I'm here to say it's not Trevor Lawrence's fault. Highest drop rate of any QB has had to deal with in the last 3 seasons last year. I found a new stat. I did my Wilkerson stat looking up. You'll love this. Receiver error is a new one I've seen this year.
Ooh.
Lawrence lost 58 expected points added due to receiver error last year. By far the most. Average was 21. So that means like receiver drops, receiver runs the route wrong. It's basically receiver mistakes that aren't on him is how they track it. Third lowest time to throw last year. Dealt with multiple injuries. Run game was 30th in efficiency. Lawrence was bad under pressure. 37th out of 43 quarterbacks accuracy when pressured. But the majority of it's not his fault. I think it's external factors. I think the talent's still there. And if the receiving core and the weapons can just be average and just catch the ball at a normal rate, I think Lawrence is going to be great this year. And I like the Jags. I'm backing on the Jags. I think Lawrence is that good. I'm not ready to put a fork in it and say, oh, he regressed. I think there's too many factors externally that contributed to that.
I think the public is, like Ben said, I think the public is a little more down on Trevor Lawrence. I think
too much.
I think people are talking about Trevor Lawrence now the way they talked about Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. I think that's the conversation right now, where you like him, you think he's good, you think, people have these debates, is he a top 10 quarterback, is he a top 12 quarterback? he's probably better than what the public thinks, but is there that ceiling, that capped ceiling? I think Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback. I think the injuries are a big part of it. But I think the national perception of Trevor Lawrence is he's kind of Kirk Cousins-y.
I will say, Connor, I think you talked me into Trevor Lawrence with those stats you gave.
I'm telling you, I was shocked.
Beautiful display there. The concerns I have, you look at their out-of-division schedule at Miami, at Detroit, at Buffalo. London, you can almost chalk that up as 2 wins because it's a de facto home game for them. De facto, at Philadelphia.
Bears, Patriots.
Bears, Patriots.
2 wins.
So
that's 2 wins.
And then they host Cleveland and they host Green Bay. They're not easy outs, but I do think, Connor, you're exactly right about Trevor Lawrence. You get Gabe Davis, a good addition. Devin Duvernay, not a bad addition. Lose Calvin Ridley, but, it might be old. I understand he went to the Titans, but old guy syndrome there.
They didn't use him right either.
Yeah, 100%. I'm high on the Jaguars. I'm higher on the Jaguars than I am the Texans.
Ooh, that's a crazy statement.
I wanted to do that, but I couldn't
Me too.
get there. I think I got back in on the Jags as like I was like, okay, I don't think they're the AFC South winner. It wouldn't shock me, but I couldn't do it. But I was like, this feels like a wild card level team.
They feel
there's a lot of wild card level teams in the AFC, but I do think I was shocked. Like, everyone was clowning the Trevor Lawrence extension. And I was like, am I missing something?
No, he's a safe bet in a world where people are starting like Zach Wilson some years. And
Hey!
Okay, sorry.
Hey! Whoa!
When you have a safe bet like Lawrence, though, you lock him up. Period. I think you're right, Ben.
We forget Taylor Swift's first NFL football game, basically, was Zach Wilson dicing up the Chiefs.
And our best clip. Our best TikTok clip as well.
One of our best clips, yeah.
Real quick to put a bow on the Jaguars. Their first 4 games at Miami versus Cleveland, at Buffalo, at Houston. That's a gauntlet of a schedule, the first 4. If they can somehow go 2-2 in that schedule, I think that's huge for them because it gets easier as the year goes on. And I'll be looking for a live Jags win total if they do start 1-3 in that tough stretch because I don't think that's going to be indicative of what the rest of their season is going to look like. So I like it. If the O-line's average, they were 29th in pass block rate last year. They're average, run game's average, receivers don't drop everything that's thrown to them. I think Lawrence can elevate this team above 9 wins.
Yeah, last thing I'll say on the Jags, they feel very 9-8 to me. This feels like a very, very much a 9-8 team. I also don't think losing Calvin Ridley's a problem at all. I don't think it's a big deal. They add Brian Thomas. They add Gabe Davis, who Gabe Davis was in Buffalo.
Josh Allen made him look good.
Yeah, and it was streaky in Buffalo, but I still think he'll be good. I still think the Jags are going to be a solid team. I really want to see Trevor Lawrence stay healthy, and I just want to see him take that next step a little bit. It sounds, kind of vague and poor analysis, but I do want to see him take that next step and be the guy we thought was the number 1 overall pick, was a surefire, hey, this is the next best thing since Andrew Luck kind of pick. But let's move on. Let's go to the Colts. Speaking of Andrew Luck, let's move on to the Colts. 8.5 win total, plus 400, wherever you're looking, plus 400, 370. I've seen a lot of different numbers for the Colts for the division. Look, this comes down to Anthony Richardson. I know it's only been 1 year. I know you couldn't stay healthy that first year. The way he plays, it's very, very tough for me to say, Anthony Richardson, you're going to stay healthy this year. Yes, they bring in Joe Flacco. Dylan, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the Colts?
Boring. Oh, my gosh.
Boring?
Boring. I was doing the research here.
Did you watch Anthony Richardson play?
You're putting words in my mouth. Carter. I was looking at acquisitions, losses. Boring. They just re-signed everybody they had, which isn't a bad thing, right? They re-signed franchise tag Pittman, Buckner re-signed, extended, whatever. Just boring snooze fest, and I think, Carter, you summed it up perfectly. It comes down to what we get out of Anthony Richardson, right? And we saw that he can be electric, get it done on the ground, really get it done in the air, to be completely honest with you. It's just a matter of if he can stay healthy for the whole season. I think he raises the ceiling of this Colts team greatly. And I think if he gets injured, we have Joe Flacco come in, and I think we can expect more of the same that we saw last year. A decent team, going to be in the mix, but there is a roadblock keeping them from that top level. Unless Anthony Richardson's healthy, then I think they can get there.
I'll piggyback off that. Are we sure about Anthony Richardson? I know he was electric in 4 games last year. I know he was electric, but was he electric enough to just cover up all those red flags about his throwing coming out of Florida? all of a sudden, are we just supposed to forget all that about the accuracy? I don't think he's a good enough passer to stop running as much, a.k.a. I have longevity issues. I have injury issues with him. And I get it. He was fun last year for 4 games. Not fun enough, not good enough, not consistent enough for me to be like, oh, all those red flags from him as a college prospect, all those accuracy issues at Florida, all of a sudden they're just gone. I'm going to forget them. So I've seen a lot of people with this as like the sexy division pick, like, oh, they're going to make the playoffs and win a game. Let's pump the brakes on that, at least right now. I'm not saying I'm out on Anthony Richardson. I'm just saying I'm not in yet. I
think you're saying you're out. I think you're saying you're out on Anthony Richardson.
I'm leaning out.
I'm to be determined. Like, I do like him. I mean, it's been said on this podcast. I like a quarterback with abs.
That's true. That's true.
That has been said. So, like, I like Michael Pittman. I like A.D. Mitchell. Jonathan Taylor for a full season. They're really good on the trenches. The back 7 I don't love. I think Steichen's a good coach. So there's a lot of things I like. It just really comes down to Anthony Richardson, because if Anthony Richardson does get hurt, like, I don't believe we're going to see, like, I think it's foolish to think the Joe Flacco thing will happen again to the extent that it did last year. I fade that. I'm fading that.
Is it foolish? Because I think the Colts is a better system than the Browns.
But they were a few plays away from making the playoffs with, like, Gardner Minshew.
Exactly.
So, like, but I guess my question, like, and it's kind of, I think I'm less out than Connor, but I'm still sort of in that, like, what if Anthony Richardson, like, maybe we think he's Cam Newton? What if he's Justin Fields?
Well, his shoulder injury is on his throwing arm. Let's not discount that either. Like, it's not like he's all roses and he was a great passer. And they face one of the toughest schedules against the run defenses. So, yeah, Jonathan Taylor's going to be healthy and back, but they are going to have to throw the ball against their schedule, and I don't see it. I think I'm out on Anthony Richardson.
I can see it. I'm not right now. I'm not out, but, like, I'm not bought in enough to say that they make the playoffs.
I've got 1 foot out the door, Ben. Is that fair? I've got 1 foot out the door.
Yeah. I'm kind of like in the room where the door is, but
you put your coat on, like you're getting ready to leave. You put your coat on. I'm not ready to leave. I'm not ready to leave.
You're going to your significant other, being like, hey, like, when are we getting out of here?
I'm not make him an excuse. Say you gotta go to bed.
I'm not ready to leave, but, like, I've got my coat on in case we have to. Like, okay, I'm ready to get out immediately. I liked what we saw out of him last year, and I liked the traits. But, like, also, I can't just shake. I still can't shake how much, like, he wasn't all that good, Florida.
I'm with you. It's been 4 games.
Okay, but also,
and I liked what I saw. I really liked what I saw. I want to see more.
How much of that was his fault at Florida? Everything around him was a disaster at Florida. Everything around him was a disaster at Florida. I don't think it was much his fault at Florida. And when we saw him in those 4 games, he was dynamite.
I'm not saying no. I'm saying
you are saying you're out. You're saying you're leaning out.
No.
You are saying you're leaning out.
Why do I have to make a determination of, like, fully how I feel about this quarterback after 4 NFL games? Why can't I just be to be determined?
I that's fine then, but you sounded like you're more leaning out than you are leaning in, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I think you're 55-60% out rather than 40-35% out.
Okay. Sure, I think Connor's like 75.
Yes.
I would say 80, 75, 80, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's my one concern. But, like, I'm at a point where it's like, after week 3, he looks good. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm in. You know what I mean? Like,
crack another drink. Like, we're gonna play some games now. Sit down.
It's not gonna take too long for me to be bought in. I just need a little bit of a bigger sample size of this before I can fully determine that it's real. That's all.
Middleman Ben.
Go ahead. Yeah,
That's middleman Ben.
And Ben,
I said nothing. I spoke a lot of words and said, I don't know.
But Ben, I agree with you. I think the sample size is low. I think we do need to see more, and that's why I can't sit here and say Colts over 8.5 wins, Do we think they're one win worse this year? Like, that's where that win total gets tricky. It's an Anthony Richardson health bet. It's a bet on, okay, is Anthony Richardson's shoulder healthy? That's a fair point there, Connor. My feet are in the pool. I'm getting ready to get in the pool with Anthony Richardson. My feet are dangling in. I'm feeling how warm the water is. I'm like, ooh, it's a nice summer day. I'm gonna get in the pool. I loved what I saw in those 4 games, but Ben's right. I do need to see more before I put my money behind the Colts and say the Colts are gonna win this division. But I really, really, really love what I saw from Anthony Richardson. That few game sample size. I love what I saw.
I do too.
What did you watch the games, Connor? Did you watch?
I did. I'm still sitting.
But
You talking about the pool, Carter? I'm still
they were
sitting under the umbrella.
You're
Under the umbrella. I'm about to order a pizza. I'm not getting in.
No, I think you're getting the kids out of the pool and you're saying we're going home. We got food at home. We got food at home.
I'm willing. Like Carter's like, let's get in the pool. It's warm. I'm like, it is a little chilly. There's a breeze, so I don't know, but like, I'm willing. Like, I don't know. It's for me. It's like I liked what I saw. Like Connor seems to really not buy what he saw. I bought what I saw. I'm
not buying it'll be consistent. I'm not buying it'll be consistent.
Okay. Let's real quick, Dylan. Any last thoughts on the Colts?
Depends on Anthony Richardson. That's all. And that's what are we going to get from him?
Let's move
One
on
last thing. Colts are a dome team. Colts are a dome team. Bad teams they play. New England, New York twice, Denver, all outside late in the year. Weather. Just saying. There's some games they should win. They might lose.
But
I kind of like them week 1. I kind of like them week 1 against the Texans at home.
Okay.
And then I kind of like to fade them after that.
But
3-3
with those cold weather games, the dome doesn't bother me as much because that run game's going to be phenomenal if they're healthy.
If they're
Run game's
healthy.
going to be
Okay.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Fair.
Anyhow,
Agreed.
Let's move on. We got to hurry. Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel gone. No longer. Dylan, let's just let you take this away.
Smell ya.
Take it away with the Titans.
I mean, I'm going to get a lot of pushback here. I think ultimately what this comes down to, they changed everything. Our identity as a team is...
You guys went in the transfer portal.
That's literally what we did. It was Dion, we're bringing Louis, right? Callahan's bringing Louis.
More like great value, but...
Well, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, two established veterans.
Kirkland.
So I think ultimately what this comes down to, before we get into the weeds, they are completely new team. You have Carthon come in, restructure everything. Callahan, new coach, new coordinators. I think that enough has been done to address the needs. Obviously, the big question, we'll just start with this, Will Levis, right? Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback. Came in, had times he looked great last year, had times he looked not so great last year. I'm not a big dog guy, right? We've talked about dog rankings. We've talked about having that dog. Levis has the dog. I mean,
that mayonnaise ad that got me. The mayonnaise perfume.
Zach Wilson, Will Levis. That's the first things you think of.
Can you show me another quarterback that will have a turnover and then recover his turnover by tackling another guy? He did that against the Colts last year. So if you're going to draw comparisons Levis to Favre, I'm all in on that, right? I'm all in on that.
Oh, so you're all in on them stealing money from welfare in the state of Mississippi?
I'm talking playing career.
Potentially.
Allegedly. Playing career only. I think we had some big issues. Offensive line, secondary was bad. But we did go out and we got a lot of guys. Pollard, Ridley, Boyd. Latham was a good addition in the draft. Not who I wanted, but I think he'll end up being okay. Cushenberry at center, over 75 pass block rating. L'Jarius Sneed, cornerback. There are additions that are made here that give me reason to be optimistic about the Titans, but I also think the floor is extremely low.
It's crazy.
Extremely low.
I 100% agree with the Titans. You look at the Titans, you talked about all their additions and subtractions and everything that's been going on. Head coaching change and the whole thing's changed. I just have a big fat question mark. You could talk me into 3-14. You could talk me into they sneak in like 8-9, 9-8. I really think that's possible.
I think the ceiling's higher than that, I think.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
the ceiling's not higher than 5.
I think you're rebuilding and like trying to. It's a rebuild. The Texans, Titans. That's not a negative word. I know we have a major negative connotation, but it's like you're switching things up. You're changing things up. I think my question potentially that I don't like is, I don't like shortcuts in a rebuild and L'Jarius Sneed, like Tony Pollard, Calvin
Jamal Adams.
That feels like, don't those kind of feel like you're trying to shortcut a rebuild. Like, if you're going to rebuild.
That's why I kind of want
You
to
know?
hint at, like, it might. You said rebuild, and that's why I had such a reaction to that. Is like you do not rebuild with old guys. I think that's the problem. I mean, these Hopkins old, Ridley old, Pollard
Gordon Hayward
old,
signing the vet
like,
minimum for the Titans.
old. That's the problem there. But you look at Levis, 5th highest turnover-worthy play rate last year, but also he had a top big-time throw rate. So you're getting both ends. There's no doubt that Levis wants to be in Tennessee. There's no doubt he has the dog. The question is all these old additions. Now, Tyler Boyd, Kyle Phillips, Treylon Burks, Chig Okonkwo is a dog as well at tight end. Yeah, lots of yards after.
You said
catch.
you don't like talking about dog, but then all of a sudden you're like, dog this, dog that, dog this.
Guys, that's all I have here.
Yeah,
that's
I
all
know.
I have. That's all I have here. So
Welcome to the club.
Schedule, like you said, 4th place schedule. Not a tough schedule. At Miami, at Buffalo, at Detroit.
Yeah, not tough. Yeah.
How about you give me a second to go through the schedule, okay? 3 tough
Hurry
away
up, we're
games.
on a time crunch here.
I'm trying here. I'm trying. The 3 toughest away games I just listed off. The home out of division games, Green Bay, Cincinnati. So like, I'm high on the Titans because I'm a fan. Well, you do this all you want. That's 4 games, 5 games, and 3-3 in the division. So what? 10,
this is where
9-8?
that does not
Dylan?
apply in this division.
Dylan,
That
I
does not-
know
does
you-
not apply.
It does.
does not.
I know you said that like favorites don't always win, blah blah blah. They're not going to be favored in more than one game. New England, maybe the only one. Maybe Minnesota, but that's it. They're not going to be favored against any other team. I don't even think Washington.
I think they
I know
get
that
2
doesn't-
division games.
I don't even
Vikings.
think that.
All right,
Real quick,
quickly, Connor.
1 or 2.
yeah, real quick. You guys will like this comparison. Hopkins, Ridley, Tyler Boyd. Kind of reminds me of the Spurs in the NBA, where it's like, oh, those are some names we know. Like, they're going to be pretty good. It's like, oh, they got LaMarcus Aldridge and Rudy Gay and DeMar DeRozan and Pau Gasol. It's like, those are some notable names. They'll win 45 games, but then you don't really have any confidence in them. It's like, oh, these older guys that are household names. That was my comparison. Titans overall, I'm not a huge Will Levis guy, mainly to just like spite Dylan. Had a tough go of it on second down last year. He faced the most yards on second down almost in the league. I think they're going to be bottom of this division. I don't think that's even a question. I think the Titans are the last place team in this division, and 6.5 I think is too many wins. Dylan, I know you said the schedule, but you cannot pencil them in for 3 division wins. That, like you guys said, doesn't apply here.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't pencil them in for 3
yeah, you
division
can.
wins. Real quick, well, last thing on the Titans, real quick. I have a question for you, Dylan. How much do we put in that, the Vrabel drop-off? Are we worried, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that we regress from the Mike Vrabel defense? This is supposed to be a hot shot offensive coordinator coming in. I'm a little worried about that defense without Vrabel.
Defense really, I mean, they weren't bad, I guess, last year. I think hiring Denard Wilson from the Ravens, he was I think D-backs or maybe secondary coach, and we struggled there. We've struggled there since 2019. So hopefully that gets remedied. Worry, I don't know. I'm not real worried about it. No. I think Denard Wilson will get it right as defensive coordinator, and I think the offense will take a huge step up. It's a whole new game plan.
And also, if you're a Titans fan, I really think all that matters this year is it proves that Will Levis is the franchise guy. That's all. I think that's number one priority.
It's going to be hard without a lead running back. Pollard and Spears both better as complementary backs. I don't trust them between the tackles.
Then they'll be
Spears.
complementary backs.
To what? To who?
Each
Haskins?
other. 50%.
Okay.
Each other.
Two left don't make a right.
I would have just rather them go young and just sort of go whatever than like this kind of in between thing. Like, if you're gonna rebuild, do it.
Yeah.
I don't like that they were kind of like
the
we
Hornets.
want to rebuild, but we kind of don't. I don't know. Just pick a lane and stay in it.
I would go Titans under. I think they win 5 games this year.
Tough.
Same.
I agree. I think less.
All right.
I think 4.
Let's wrap up here really quick. Favorite bet, Dylan?
Favorite bet, Levis pass yards leader 80-1. The ceiling's there.
Actually,
They're gonna air that ball out, man.
I agree.
a couple dollars. That's not a crazy bet.
Pizza bet.
Pizza bet. Cookout tray. Connor.
Best bet: Titans under 6.5 wins. I don't see more than 4 games they win this year, and that's being generous.
I'll piggyback off that. Titans under 6.5. One of my favorite bets on the board.
Yeah, and excuse my language. I'm going to be kind of a basic bitch and say Texans over.
Okay.
I don't love it. I feel too cute with it, but it's just
That's Joe Schmo.
there's a trap. They're trying to bring me into the trap. Like, the cheese is sitting there. I'm the mouse. There's there's cheese, and I'm going to get it.
It's like, I'm
I'm
hungry.
eating that cheese.
Dylan, division winner.
Tennessee Titans 10-1.
Ben.
Texans.
Connor.
I hate it, but yeah, Texans.
Jacksonville Jags plus 270.
Love it.
I wish I had that.
Should I just say
had-
Colts so we have all different numbers? No, I'm kidding. I'm going Texans. I think Texans win this division.
Yeah.
All right, that's it from us. Make sure to subscribe. All the stuff in the description below. Follow us all on Twitter at CarterCast on everything. Download SeatGeek. Use code CarterCast. $20 off your first purchase. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out all the other NFL previews and college football previews. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.